I'm Jason Aponte. That is Leo Luna of Bay Area Sports Digest. It's a gold mine reunion. It's been a minute. We're here to talk about the San Francisco 49ers and what are the chances of lightning striking twice with the 49ers and Mac Jones beating a team that is at the top of the NFC discussion. But first off, Leo, what's up, my boy? How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty well. Like you said, it's been a minute, so this is definitely exciting to me. I was texting you earlier this week. I was like, dude, like I'm excited. It's been a minute that we, talked ball together, and we're talking about, way back the down bad days with a different number 10 at quarterback, with the same type of injuries that have happened then that are happening now. So it's definitely exciting, and anytime 49ers are 4-1 leading the NFC West, I'm doing good, so can't complain from there.
Straight. And you know what's funny is I've been saying this all week. Whatever, quarterback controversy, quarterback discussion, whatever it is, whatever we're going to call this, you don't know my name without quarterback controversy. You like literally I've built a YouTube channel off of this. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. So, I'm a veteran. I know how to move, right? All the way to the pick number 3 to, Garoppolo and Trey and then, all the like I'm not new to any of this. So I can navigate this a little bit better, which is kind of funny that we're linking up because literally when we started, Goldmine and we started everything, it was in the throes of the quarterback discussion. So yeah, 49ers fans over the years, different decades, different time, a tale as old as time is I want the backup quarterback to play over the guy that's in front of him, and the two factions will be on either side, right?
Yeah, I mean, like we're in a better position than we were then. Back then, we were talking about start Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins got to be QB number one. He put up XYZ stats in his first 16 starts in the NFL. George Kittle broke this and that record with Nick Mullins under center. So it's like this position is a whole lot better. I personally feel like Brock Purdy is the guy. So it's not kind of a controversy for me. It's more so of a wow, the 49ers are lucky to have Mac Jones for 2 years just in case, you can't predict the future, especially with injuries and things like that. With Brock Purdy's got a serious turf toe injury. Look at Joe Burrow and things like that. And to have Mac Jones for 2 years, it's whether who knows? Like to me, the controversy is like, do the 49ers carry Mac Jones next season, or does somebody want to magically give the 49ers an early pick? But that's like I'm not even worried about that. Like this is early into the first half of the season. That's what I'm trying to enjoy. No matter who's at quarterback, I want to see Fred Warner ball. I want to see Diamador Lenore ball. That's where I'm excited at getting George Kittle back, things like that. So it's definitely interesting. I don't see it as a controversy. I see it as a blessing. But like you said, this is what we know. Unfortunately, like we know torture. We know torture. We haven't. This isn't something we haven't seen before. We're not in unfamiliar territories. We've been here. It's good.
Yeah.
We just take it on the chin and we move.
We're the veterans here. We don't need a backup. We're the veterans. And, real quick, I just want to point this out because I agree with you. I do think that Brock is the guy, and I don't really want to spend too much time on that. But it is kind of
Yeah.
interesting. Mac is here for 2 years, and after the second year of Brock's contract is when the outs start to come. Just
We're
putting that
not
out
there
there.
yet. Future
Just
future
just putting it
podcast.
out there.
Yeah.
Just putting it
Future
out there.
episode.
But I will talk about the practice reports that came out today. Obviously, everybody was eagerly waiting to see what's going on with, Ricky Pearsall. It sounds like Kyle Shanahan said that he's not counting on Ricky Pearsall for Sunday, so he didn't practice today. Juwan Jennings returned with a limited practice today, and John Lynch was on KNBR talking about he would be limited today. They're trying to prep him to go Sunday. His arrow's pointing up towards Sunday. Obviously, no Brock Purdy. It is Mac Jones again. And Mac Jones, it wouldn't be a 49ers injury report without new injuries. Not only the PCL, now an oblique. But Mac Jones not throwing the football today, saying that he's saving the throws for Sunday. Leo, what do you think are the chances that Mac can do what everybody thinks he can't do, which is go on the road and beat an NFC team with a 4-1 record that are, rightfully so, should be at the top of the NFC discussion.
You know, I think his chances are, and that's a lot of his ability to be healthy, to go out there and play. And to me, the more concerning injury would be the oblique rather than the PCL, because as you heard Mac Jones, I believe himself say that doesn't that knee isn't so much into his throwing motion as I would an oblique would be. So that's my bigger concern there with Mac Jones. But in terms of being out there and sneaking in another win, I can't doubt what he has done so far. And especially, the 49ers fans, they're going to travel. It's not going to be like, this craziness in what Seattle used to be in 2012, 2013, 2014. It's not going to be that type of atmosphere going into Tampa Bay. So, and then when you get a Juwan Jennings back, I think that's going to be huge in terms of the run game. You need one of those outside guys to secure the corner, let Christian McCaffrey get outside of the tackles and do something. And it could even be an extension of the run game, which is throwing it out to McCaffrey in the flats and getting Juwan Jennings out there to block, getting the ball out quick. Because, like, I know last year McCaffrey only averaged 3 yards a carry. They still went out there and won the game. So it wasn't a need to go out there and win this. It's just Tampa Bay isn't built like the Rams are. Now, granted, that was kind of like a home game with Levi South and everything like that. But it doesn't matter where you played or what condition you're in. That Rams front seven travels. Don't matter if they were in that 2012, 13, 14 Seattle road game. That defense would have traveled there with that front seven. So I think Tampa is very vulnerable especially within their secondary. McCollum is on the injury report for them. He's one of their cornerbacks that just got paid. And Houston State, I liked him coming out of the draft. I think he was a day 3 pick. So they're potentially going without him. And Brock Purdy went in there last year and threw 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, quarterback rating of 119.3. Like, Brock Purdy he outplayed Baker Mayfield last year. Baker Mayfield was more cheeks than a BBL, if we're being honest, against the 49ers last season. I think he was under 120 yards, 82 quarterback rating. Like, it was a good game for Baker Mayfield. Now, I understand this is going to be different because Baker now has a receiver in Smith. I was thinking JSN. No, Ibuka. He's got it. Ohio State. I apologize, Ohio State.
Oh, you're good.
He's got a receiver in Ibuka. So he didn't have that last year. Last year, Mayfield's leading receiver was Rachaad White. So there was no Mike Evans, and similar to what we expect here on Sunday. But I think Mac Jones, we saw what he did against the Rams, and I think it's going to be a similar fashion to where there's going to be a lot of that middle underneath. George Kittle had a heck of a game against Tampa Bay as well. And are we talking Jake Tonjes again? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes above 50 yards again.
Yeah, this game is really interesting because I'm far more concerned about this game than I was last week with the Rams. All week with the Rams, I just pointed to the similarities, everything, right? But now looking at the history of this, Kyle Shanahan and Todd Bowles, anytime that they've linked up, Kyle Shanahan's kind of had his way. And I think what we're forgetting about that game last season in Tampa, I mean, hopefully you forgot because I tried to forget, is that the damn fucking kicker couldn't make any kicks in that game. So like, the 49ers were having their way moving up and down. Now, the red zone issues were still apparent, but the way that you're going to be able to beat this defense is got to be middle of the field throws, intermediate, and underneath throws. But the secondary is vulnerable here. You mentioned Zion McCollum, who had a thumb procedure. He's still in play to play on Sunday, but Jamel Dean is back. When they were healthy, they really weren't stopping anybody either. you look over and over, and the problem is this with the running game is I don't want 49er fans to freak out when the 49ers don't run the ball well this week because they're going up against a top 1-2 run defense, and that's a staple of what Todd Bowles does. They are literally there to stop the run. So like you said, extension of the run game. I expect a similar game plan like you saw against the Rams, and Mac is the one who's able to execute that. One other thing I want to point out, the Bucs blitz at the fifth highest rate. And it hasn't translated to much success for them because through the passing defense, they're not, great. But Matt getting the ball out quickly, identifying pre-snap and being able to move the football, out of the pocket, that's got to be the way. So this game plan, the more and more I go through it and the more and more I've watched the Bucs. By the way, I was treated to being able to watch the Bucs all 22 from that game in Seattle. That game was absolute football masterpiece. Sometimes when you grind the film, that shit sucks. Sometimes when you grind the film, you get art, and that's what I got, and that's what I was able to watch was two quarterbacks throwing the football back and forth on each other. But offensively, this game is not the game for the 49ers to kickstart this run game. I mean, it is going to help that Jawan Jennings is a blocker, and I do think
Mhm.
that the lack of George Kittle and blockers on the outside have limited the running game, but Todd Bowles and them, they're going to knock the run off and they're going to force the 49ers to pass. And this has got to be a similar game plan to how it was with the Rams. It's got to get out quickly, but when you get your shots downfield, you've got to make it happen. So evaluating this over and over and looking at it, it's got to be throws in the secondary. You've got to be able to pick on those linebackers.
Mhm.
But as far as running the football, at least show it, because they are going to knock it off. You have to at least show it just so they have it in the back of their mind. And I think that's a lot of what we're going to see on Sunday.
For sure. Like we've been a lot of this conversation, especially as we get closer to the trade deadline without the 49ers making a move, is the pass rush. You got to find somebody that can impact the play. Um, Now, with Tampa Bay, they may have more notable names across that defensive line than the 49ers do. They have a Hassan Reddick that played last week. They got a Vita Vea, who's an outstanding player. I would even go as far as to say Yaya Diaby. Um, so they have more of the notable names and not uh, the amount of young players have. I think Miguel Williams is going to be a heck of a player. He's shown that, but he's not, been established yet. He's only going into his sixth NFL game. So while the Buccaneers have that going for them, they still only had two quarterback hits with no sacks against
Yeah.
the Seattle Seahawks. And like you were saying, like, do you want to go against something that they're top five in and just bang your head against the wall and just runs because you're telling yourself, I have to kickstart this and this is going to be the week to do it on the road against a top five run defense? It's probably not the smartest thing in the world. Um, I'm on board with you. It's got to be a Mac Jones 40 attempt game from the quarterback position. And with a lot of that underneath throws, like I've been all for it. Now, when Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback, we complained about like the Jimmy throws, the gimme throws, these quick under 10 yards, yada, 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 yak bros and all that good stuff back in the day. But there his games where it calls for it. Like the main complaints about that whole Jimmy G not going downfield era is because he wasn't able to go downfield as a true threat. So it kind of made that underneath stuff a little more limited rather than we've seen Brock go downfield. We've seen Mac Jones been able to go downfield, things like that. We just saw Mac Jones throw a beautiful back shoulder pass last week to Robinson. So that's where it's got to be. Like Shanahan knows how to dial that up. Just these quick gimmies, let your guys go run after the catch, especially a Juwan Jennings. Kendrick Bourne showed a heck of a job running with the ball after a catch, which I think he would have benefited more against Jacksonville if he caught the ball first instead of thinking about the run. But we're past that game.
And the only target
So
that he didn't catch was the drop.
yeah, so it's you have those same capabilities to do that. Christian McCaffrey after the catch as well. So it's like sometimes you need those Kickstarter throws, those gimme throws, especially if the defense is giving it to you. And Tampa Bay has shown that they're gonna give them to them. So that's what I'm looking at.
I really don't think that we were like so upset with Jimmy taking the underneath throws. I think it was the ball security. And I think that's what Mac is
That's
excelling at.
true. That too. Yeah.
Yeah, like what did we used to call them? The oh no nos. The oh no no no. Like,
Hmm.
like that, like, but
When
Mac
that
doesn't
ball
do
gets
that.
off the screen,
Right. Yeah,
you
like
don't
or
see
if
the
he
ball on the TV
points
screen. You're like, oh my gosh.
or if he points and throws, like you're nervous. You don't feel that right now. And it's funny because if I was
Mm-mm.
building the perfect 49ers quarterback, it would be Mac Jones' ability to not put the ball in harm's way infused into Brock, and Brock's legs infused into Mac. That would be one
Yeah.
of the two would be the perfect quarterback, right? But I do
Hmm.
expect that. I do expect that Mac is he will take calculated risks in this game because there will be the chances to do that against the secondary. We like lifting what Sam Darnold in Seattle did in that game is going to be the way that you do it. By the way, Kubiak offshoot of Shanahan shouldn't be too hard. Everything is relative, right? Kubiak, Shanahan,
Hmm.
McVay, all of them, everything. Just a chip off the old block. But what I'm worried about in this game is I don't think there's going to be a stitch of defense played in this game. Now, you already brought up the pass rush. I don't know if there might be two or three offenses that are playing better than the Tampa Bay Bucs right now. The Indianapolis Colts, the Dallas Cowboys. Like these guys are, they're not missing a beat. The Bucks aren't running the ball well, but the way that they get their point across is it's so similar how the 49ers are operating. Rashad White, who's stepping in for Bucky Irving, is essentially extension of the run game stuff. He's still very capable. Like the fact that Mike Evans and Bucky Irving are not in this game do not have me at peace. I will say this. The one thing that is surprising is that Chris Godwin has missed all of practice all week this week after coming back from the injury. Now, is that rest? Is that part of the plan because of the fibula? I don't know, but it is Thursday and he still hasn't practiced. Now, if it's Ibuka, Starling Shepard, Tez Johnson, and Kate Otten, you feel at least a little bit better, even though I know that Chris Godwin isn't all the way back. But the similarities between the way that these offenses operate, and the only thing that's really changing that right now is they are using their running back as an extension of the run game, but they do take deeper shots down the field, and Baker has been executing so well when it comes to that. And what's weird is popping on the tape, you would think that these are, designed shots. It's when he breaks out of the pocket and extends the play and he's able to get the ball down the field. It's those plays that are the ones that the 49ers have to limit. You don't really think of Baker as a guy who can make things happen with his legs, but he's opportunistic, and that's where the explosives are coming from. So this secondary's got to stay disciplined. Malik Mustafa, if you're back, great. I love that. That only stands to benefit with this defense. But Diamador Lenore, Renardo Green, Upton Stout, when you're gonna get your number called in this game because Baker's fearless, he's seeing it, he's throwing it, you're gonna have to step up in this game. I really don't see the pass rush being that effective because of who you're missing clearly. And also, let's not forget Tristan Wirfs is back. And he joins right back against Seattle, which is a name brand defense, and says, you know what? I'm still that guy, and I'm still that you're not that guy, pal. I'm that guy. So the 49ers defense is going to be predicated on can they finally take the ball away? And if they do get an interception on Baker, that'll only be his second of the season. So I don't suspect that there's going to be a lot of defense played in this game, Leo. I think we may not see the back and forth that we saw with Seattle and Tampa Bay, but you are going to see some points be put up in this game. And I want to look at the implied total so I can try to smash the over if the number looks good.
Where do you think the 49ers got to hold Tampa Bay's offense in order to come out with the win? Like I posted it last week with the Rams because I did a little digging, and dating back to last season, week one, the Rams were 2-9 when their opponent scored a minimum of 23 points. Obviously, Thursday's game marked it 2-10. But oh my gosh, the amount of backlash I got because the amount of injuries going on with the
Uh-huh.
49ers, rightfully. They're like, who's going to play wide receiver? Oh my gosh, there's X, this, that, and the other. And I wasn't saying that the 49ers were going to go out and score above 23 points, which they ultimately did with the help of overtime. Um, so they reached that number in regulation as well. right there on top. I was more so saying if you're an offense, say I got to get this number in order to have a good chance to come out with victory. And lo and behold, 49ers did, makes that record 2-10 for the Rams now, dating back to last season. Where do you think the 49ers got to be at in order to come out with this win? Because like you said, there's a whole lot of offense, and Mac Jones, do they have a 30 burger with Mac Jones at quarterback? Yeah, I don't think so. So
I mean, if you get to 30, you've got a great
let's say
chance.
where you feel comfortable saying, okay, if the
Yeah.
49ers get here, I like their chances.
24-27. It's got to be in that 24 to 27 range. I think if you're thinking about that and you're like, hey, that's a lot of points, it's essentially 4 touchdown drives. But if you allow just 4 touchdown drives, depending on how many you get, yeah, 4 out of 10 looks bad, but think about how hot this offense is right now. Think about, how your pass rush has been. I do think the 49ers can actually put 30 up on them in this game. And the only reason that they won't, if they don't, is what I'm saying, is because they want to play that ball control game that they played against the Rams, where, these 15, 18 play drives that take up a lot of time, which I wouldn't be against based on the fact that you really want to keep that offense on the sideline. But I wouldn't be shocked that the 49ers went out there for a 30 burger. Like, put it like this. Last week when I was saying, hey, the 49ers are going to go out there, they're going to hoop and everything, if I'm not putting my money where my mouth is, I started Mac Jones in fantasy. I'm right back in the saddle starting Mac Jones again in fantasy this week, and I feel really good about that because if I'm telling you that I think they're going to score points, it starts with the quarterback. And I do think that Kyle Shanahan has the success against Todd Bowles, will be able to craft a similar game plan, and it does stand to benefit that Mac Jones is good pre-snap recognition of these blitzes and getting the ball out quickly. And, again, if you're worried that Jawan Jennings is going to play in this game and you're worried that Kendrick Bourne is somebody that you shouldn't play in fantasy, I would say not. I would say that both of these guys are going to be on the field a bunch. It just means that we get less Marquez Valdez-Scantling, which in, fairness to him, is not his fault. It's probably a good thing. So again, the way this offense is operated, the way that Kyle has been game planning, the way that Mac has been, I do think the 49ers can score 30 in this one. Now they've got to keep them in the 24 to 27. If you get into this 35-33 matchup like you did with Seattle, that's not standing to benefit you in this one. So you want to stay away from there, but you want to live in that 24 to 27 point range. And I'll feel very good about the 49ers defense if they're able to keep them there.
Yeah, I think that's solid. I think that's solid because I'm just looking at right now with Tampa Bay where they have been at. They gave up 20 points to everybody. The same like Texans were at 19. That's one off.
That offense stinks.
Jets,
aside from what happened with Baltimore.
Yeah, especially that was week 2. So that was they were down bad then. With the Jets, like they put up 20 offensively. I think seven points of those came off from special teams because
the block kick.
Because 27 total. I don't like counting those against the defense.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna say the defense gave up 20 to the Jets.
With Tyrod Taylor starting, by the way. And also, Leo touches on a very good point. This is the second straight week that the 49ers are facing somebody far worse than they are on special teams.
Yeah, and let's look at this because there's a lot of like when you look at Seattle sports teams, it's saying, oh man, it's a big drag having to go, from Seattle to East Coast, Seattle to even in California. The flights are long, blah, blah, blah. Which I just went to Seattle on my anniversary earlier this year. And
nice.
So it like the flights do feel a little longer. Like you don't think Seattle's that far, but Tampa is literally going from Tampa all the way to Seattle, all the way back to Tampa. 2 long flights within a week compared to the 49ers just went down to LA, about an hour and a half flight, right back, an hour flight maybe, because I was thinking San Francisco rather than San Jose, but an hour flight back, hour 15, whatever it is, and it's much less travel, extra day off compared to Tampa. So while the injury report is going to be a Walgreens receipt long, they do have that extra rest because of the Thursday night. Yeah, CVS. Yeah. They do have that extra rest due to the Thursday night plus less travel. So There's that aspect as well. And I like to think of those things because the Buccaneers, they're coming off 2 games in a row where they're giving up 30 burgers, one to the Eagles, one to Seattle. So this could be one of those games. This could be one of those
Yeah.
games.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Look, I've been looking forward to this game all week. This is gonna be the game of the week. Honestly, some people are gonna have to be stuck watching the Raiders play football. Unfortunately, this weekend couldn't be me. But this is gonna be it right here, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. This is also one of those gut check games, right? You obviously want to win the football game, and I think I'm not trying to spread pessimism here, but the 49ers have played 5 one-score games, and they are 4-1. That record doesn't tend to continue that way. We saw the Kansas City Chiefs last year win every single one-score game. That's an anomaly. You keep playing these games this close, there's going to be games that don't go your way. And I've got news for 49ers fans. That's exactly what this game is going to be. Another one-score game all the way down to the end. Now, if the 49ers find a way to win this one too, on top of all of those things, now you're playing with house money at 5-1, right? But what I mean by this being a gut check game is now the secondary is going to be tested, and they were very much tested last week. Thank God that Devontae Adams and Matthew Stafford haven't fully clicked yet, even though Devontae Adams is like top 10 in receiving yards, because there was plenty of plays that were there on tape that were missed, either miscommunication or Stafford just outright missed him. The 49ers are going to be tested now going forward with, Ibuka, and even if Godwin doesn't play, just the way that Baker's been operating this offense, Cade Otton is still somebody that you have to look out for. They are going to use Rashad White as a receiver, so he's still a threat. You're going to be tested as a secondary, and I want to see how you answer the bell against one of the better offenses in the league. And for all the talk about, oh, Liam Cohen's gone, and what's this Tampa Bay Bucks offense going to look like? Looks fine to me. Looks fine to me. I mean, and that absolutely helps when Baker's playing this well. So, this is just going to be a really good, no matter what the result of this game is. By the way, I'm picking the 49ers to win, guys, so don't trip out. I'm just not as like, because Tuesday I was starting to tell everybody like it's over, that's it, the Niners are going to win. I do think the 49ers are going to win, but I am far more nervous about this game. I just want to see how this team operates under these conditions on the road again against an offense that's this hot right now. And I think it's going to tell us a ton about where this team is going in terms of development, and if Malik Mustafa is the cure for some of the throws in the safety position that have been going against them.
Yeah, and then Peter brings up a great point that this
Mm-hmm.
isn't going to feel like a 10 a.m. game
Mm-hmm.
on your body if you're a
Mm-hmm.
part of the San Francisco 49ers. Isn't it feel like a normal 125 start on your body? Because it's not like they get in freaking 5 days before and let their minds adjust. Like,
Or
no,
remember, they
Jason,
used to
like,
do the thing, or they used to do the thing where they would stay in Ohio and
yeah,
then go to the other place. They haven't done that in a while.
yeah, like Jason, like it's a real thing. You've been out to Cali and you've woken up at what, like 5, 6 a.m. in the morning just because your body tells you, okay, it's go time. Compared to just dragging out of the hotel, dragging on to the team. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're playing a game this early. Uh, so, and I just find it funny, like 49ers, yeah, they have a bunch of injuries. Yes, they got to, things aren't going their way with these injuries. Uh, and talking about the close games that they've been in, uh, so have the Bucs. They
Mm-hmm.
haven't won a game more than 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
Every victory for them has been 3 points or less. Their biggest, margin of win or loss was a loss versus the Eagles. So they've been in some pretty close games as well. I don't think this is going to be the game for either team to blow somebody out. My personal opinion, this is this could be a special teams games. You talked about, Tampa having their woes on special teams. 49ers, we obviously know about their woes on special teams. They maybe come out with a victory, and we're talking about a 5-0 team if they don't give up a punt return for a touchdown. So
Yeah.
it's like this is similar territory with these teams, and I think they match up pretty well and pretty evenly then people imagine, like you see NFL did their game preview and only one person picked the 49ers, opposed to the rest of the panel there. So I think this is more of an interesting game. Like people are, crowning Tampa and everything like that. When you look at national power rankings, and 49ers are a lot of the times outside of the top 10 on those national websites, when they have the similar style of victory. Like they beat Houston in regulation because they got a touchdown with under 10 seconds left, which, granted, yeah, you guys won it, but they won that game 20-19, and it didn't
Mhm.
go into overtime because Houston missed the PAT, or else we're
Mhm.
talking about an overtime game. So, like, a lot of things can be said about like how things went the 49ers way in terms of the results and the wins. Same thing could be said about Tampa Bay as well with that fact.
Yeah, this is just going to come down to who makes less mistakes. And the 49ers desperately need a play on defense. I don't care if it's an interception or a fumble
Yes.
recovery. You need to make a play on defense. And special teams wise, I don't know what's going on around the league with block kicks, but people are figuring it out. And I think it was Bones Fossil, who's the special teams coordinator for the Titans, who breaks it down and says that, listen, on the line on certain sides, you've got 4 to protect against 6, and people are overloading and taking over that. And it was just interesting to hear him break it down, right? Because you have all those people on the line. You got 9 on the line, and you got the 2 specialists, and you can't touch the long snapper. But he was breaking down what people are taking advantage of. And this is a copycat league. You can see people doing things like that. I thought that was really interesting and insightful. It was a way to explain, because nobody can ever explain, like, hey, why is there so many blocked field goals? They're just like, oh, people aren't executing. It's a numbers game, just like it is with everything else. But the 49ers defense, if they're getting stops and they're getting off the field, that's one thing. But getting sudden turnovers, they've got to make plays in this game, and they've got to have momentum shifts in that way in this game. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether this is the game where the 49ers finally break the streak of 0 interceptions, or, maybe even get themselves a rushing touchdown. You think that would be cool? Like, this 49ers season is so fascinating because when you look at it, the 49ers lead the league in passing yards. They have 0 rushing touchdowns. They have 0 interceptions. They're 4-1, and they're playing with a backup. Like, this season is so topsy turvy. Like, if I would have told you all those things and I would have said guess the record, you would have probably been saying 1-3, 2-2, something like that. Like, to be 4-1 and to lead the league in passing yards, and then facing another pass defense that you can exploit, because I really believe that the Rams passing defense is better than the Bucs, and they still were able to have their way. I think it was more about the familiarity and understanding what you can do and knowing what you could do against Shula, and how the Rams and Niners match up. But this season has been so topsy turvy, and it's gonna be another one of those games where Kyle Shanahan trusts Mac Jones to drop back 30, 40 times, 39, 40
Yes.
times like that. That is something that we also need to understand. It's like, hey, they trust him. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way. He gets the ball out quickly. Like, these are the things that, while Jimmy Garoppolo, and I hate to keep talking about him, but this is the offense that I've been watching these last few weeks, has been the Jimmy operation. But
With
he
more
put the
rhythm.
ball in. Yeah, but he put the ball in harm's way, and when there was a shot to hit, he doesn't hit them. Right? Like, think about this: the
Mm-hmm.
the play the play to Ricky Pearsall in Arizona, right on 4th down. Kyle Shanahan talked about it, and he said, "Thank God that Kendrick
Yeah.
Bourne kind of fell out of his break, so he went and he looked." If Jimmy Garoppolo had to take that throw to Ricky Pearsall on 4th and whatever, it's not going to get completed. But you trust him because of the situation to do that. So this is I don't want people to knock Mac Jones down for operating the Jimmy offense. I want them to give him his flowers because he's lifting that offense in that way. And I also want to say we haven't seen the ceiling of this passing offense until George Kittle's back, Ricky Pearsall's back, Juwan Jennings is 100% healthy. All of these things can be true. And that's why people are so happy with the way that Mac is going. The way I'll say it is like this, Leo. The 49ers have a franchise guy and a starting level quarterback. What better situation
Yeah.
is it than that? And it doesn't have to be anything
100%.
more than that.
100%. And we also know, like, I don't want to get too much into it. We also know Brock Purdy loves that gunslinger mentality.
Hmm.
And when you have mentality, Baker Mayfield has the same thing. Uh, and when you have that mentality, sometimes you're going to be rewarded, sometimes you're going to get burned. That's going to happen. And that's why I'm do a bold take here and say 49ers are going to get an interception this game.
I
I
mean, if we
know
say it
Baker
every week,
Mayfield
it'll
hasn't.
eventually happen, right?
Yeah, I'm the. If the clock is broken and I say it's 12:20, eventually I'm going to be right, and the clock's going to be 12:20 when it's 12:20. So, but I haven't said that yet. Obviously, I haven't been recording and posting very much stuff. Um, hasn't been something that I posted on Twitter or anything either. But I just feel like where the Buccaneers are at with their receivers, they have a star in the making, not even there. And with Baker Mayfield's gunslinger mentality, I think, and without the Mike Evans and stuff like that, I believe he's gonna force one in there to Ibuka. And whether it's a tip drill, whether it's a oh no, I did not see that guy in zone coverage, what have you. This isn't be the only time I'm going to say it because I don't like to do these things, but I think that streak ends. I think the 49ers are going to get theirs.
Yeah, I hope so too. And again, we don't
I'm
know
not
what
going to
this
do
is
it
gonna.
every week. I'm not going to do it every week. If it doesn't happen this week, it don't happen. But
I
I
am.
think
It's
with
just gonna be a running
Baker's
bit. I am.
mentality, it's probably available on the betting apps. So
Yeah. Well, I mean,
eventually,
I
just keep
am.
pounding, double it every time. Double it every time. You're gonna hit and make your money back.
If you roll it, if you keep rolling it. But yeah, look, I think there shouldn't be too much defense played in this game, but it's going to come down to who ultimately makes the plays. Todd Bowles is going to blitz Mac Jones, and he's going to try to get the ball out of his hands quickly. That's exactly what the 49ers want to do. That's exactly what Kyle Shanahan wants to do. So it's going to come down to all that stuff. And it feels like the team that makes the fewer mistakes is going to win. And this is going to come down to, again, a special teams thing. And special teams plays don't have to be always kick returns, you know, punt blocks, anything like that. It could just be when you need a return to set up very good field position for a final drive or something like that, right? Like, I think that's where everybody was looking at the Rams and they were like, well, why are the Rams 29th in EPA? Their kicker kicks that dirt ball and they're pinning people. It's because they can't cover worth the shit on any of the kickoff returns, on the punt returns,
Yeah.
and they also can't protect on the kicking, on the blocks. I mean, they had all those blocks against the Eagles and the 49ers get a block and they're missing field goals. That's where it is. By the way, Chase McLaughlin, if you want to make up for what you did against Seattle in 2019, even though you kind of did because you drilled that game-winning kick against Tampa
I know.
Bay, maybe you shank a field goal here and there because, while I was very happy that you knocked out Seattle with that game-winning kick, you still owe us a little bit because we were going to be undefeated if you would have just made that one kick. So, Chase McLaughlin, if you're listening, I'm not asking you to throw the football game. Simply just asking that maybe when you kick one of those, you kick it into the wind and, it just goes away. And then everybody will just say, hey, that was just some bad luck.
I'm never gonna forget when Jennifer Lee Chan posted that video of her like in the tunnel, and here comes the
And he kicked
football
it
and
into the tunnel.
bouncing
Yeah.
and bouncing into the
I
tunnel.
could have done that.
That's something
I
that's
could have
always
done
gonna
that.
haunt me because it was Seattle and it was the undefeated season on the line. I didn't expect the 49ers to go undefeated, 16-0, 16 games at that time.
But anybody
I
but
didn't expect
Seattle to
them to
snap
go
that
six,
streak.
but it's like, bro, like I think they lost to the Falcons same year. Like I would have rather have that been
Yeah.
the Falcons that season where they
Yeah.
where they catch the loss, not Seattle at home out of all
Yeah.
places. But I guess it works out because they won in Seattle week 17. Thanks Dre Greenlaw. Shout out Dre Greenlaw on that one. But it's yeah, like the 49ers with the injuries that they have, they're not built to lose the turnover battle. So that's why when we talk about the Mac Jones, he's not having the same turnover rate as the other number 10 has in this similar style offense. That's why the 49ers are stealing wins against the Rams. It's because, we almost had that one at the end of the game there that made me really nervous, but it didn't happen. well, I think PFF probably charted that as a turnover worthy throw.
Hmm.
So it's you just got to stay at least neutral or above that turnover margin. And with the injury, because of the injuries, not because of the team's talent level isn't the same as others. No, because of the injuries, considering the talent that's missing on the field, you got to either stay neutral or win that battle, and that's how you're going to come on top. This is like my captain obvious moment. You win the game if you score more than Tampa Bay. That's how
I
the
mean,
49ers are going to win this game.
that's
So,
a sprint right option
I
bit,
mean,
right?
that
Like,
strategy, yeah, it works 100% of the time, I think you guys say.
yeah.
So, not 99.9999, literally 100% of the time it works. So it's that's what the 49ers, my captain obvious moment is just like I see with the talent that's missing a hard time, especially when you don't have the edge rushers that are gonna turn a 2nd and 8 into a 3rd and 15. Like those are huge. When you can't bank on that. You can't even expect that to come or be hopeful of it. You're just like be an incomplete pass so that we could get 3rd and 8. Um, so when you don't have that advantage on your side, you got to figure out other advantages, and it's got to be keep it neutral or be above it. And that's what happened with the Rams. 49ers turned over the ball once there against the Rams. We may not be so happy as we are now.
So I'm glad you went there because this is going to be a segue into probably our final topic. You mentioned edge rusher. John Lynch was on KNBR, and he said, we've been making calls. We've had good discussions. If I was using my 49ers overly used term, I would think that's called due diligence. Take a drink every time you hear that. But obviously, everybody wants Trey Hendrickson or Max Crosby. I've been kind of preparing myself for an Arden Key, Miles Murphy type player, somebody who can, fit in, but won't exactly be like a dominant every down, edge, anything like that. Where are you at with the 49ers and trying to improve this pass rush? Because it's not going to get it done unless, Alfred Collins keeps jumping and Michael Williams comes into his own, but it's not going to get it done in the crucial moments down the stretch or in the postseason if the 49ers find themselves there without an extra piece.
Yeah, so like I don't want to be the Debbie Downer by any terms, but I just don't
They're
see a
not getting
Max
Trey
Crosby.
Hendrickson.
Like
Oh, well, Max
they're not
Crosby,
getting Max
never.
Crosby.
Never.
Like he's in year 1 of a new deal.
Correct.
49ers go get him. I believe the
Yep.
49ers are going to have to take on around 30 something million. Whatever the prorated amount is this year, and then 30 jumps right into $30 million next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
That's
Shanahan
not a
also
Debbie
said
Downer.
something about I think Shanahan had said something about like, oh, about not hurting the team in the future, this,
Well,
that, and the other.
let me ask you
And
this, Leo. Let me ask you this, Leo, because he was asked about the Emmanuel Sanders trade, and
mhm.
they were asked about the piece, and he said, we were a wide receiver away because we had a Super Bowl defense, and basically saying he doesn't feel like that about this team right now. Do you read too much into that? Like, do you believe that Kyle Shanahan is just saying, hey, listen, I know we're not close to competing, and that's why we're not going to try to go for one of those high level guys? Or I just felt like he was just being realistic.
I don't think he was saying that this team isn't built to win the Super Bowl, because I think if you go and get a Trey Hendrickson, like if you're Kyle Shanahan, you got to trust what you could call as an offensive play caller.
Mhm.
Especially imagine you got Kittle back. Imagine you got Parasol, IU, Juwan Jennings,
I don't think we're seeing Brandon Ayuk this year, Leo,
Purdy.
but
We're not going. We're not going down that tunnel. Not as of yet. We could have that discussion in November, but not this month. But I don't think it's him saying he doesn't feel like he has a Super Bowl team, because, like, if you beat the Rams already with what you had to work with, especially at the pass catcher position, um, like that should tell you that you're good enough to compete in the NFC, and maybe you run into something. So it's kind of I just don't think it's Max Crosby because of year one of a new deal. You're going to have to take on 30 something million, whatever that pro rate amount is this year, and then next year. I can see, and then you're definitely giving up a one for Max Crosby, at least one minimum. So that's where I read the tea leaves and not hurting us in the future. Uh, I don't know if it's true or not. I saw something on formerly known as Twitter saying the 49ers reach out to the Raiders about Max Crosby. Okay,
JPA football was
let's
saying that.
just
Come on.
say it's true.
Come on.
Let's just say
Come on.
it's true. You kind of have to. You know what I
Of
mean? If
course.
that guy is truly available, like that's
So, all right.
kind of
Let me
have to. But
let me
it doesn't mean that something gets done.
no, let me throw some water on this. And
Go
here's
cook.
why
Come on.
here's why it's never going to happen with the Raiders. I don't know if everybody remembers the 49ers offered the superior offer for Khalil Mack and Al Davis, Mark Davis, whatever, the idiot with the stupid haircut, said, I'd rather die than trade Khalil Mack to the San Francisco 49ers. Fast forward to 2025. Do you believe that as that man is getting older, that attitude has changed? Of course, the 49ers are smart to go ask. But the Raiders would let Max Crosby rot before they ever allowed him to become a San Francisco 49er and achieve glory. I just wanted to make sure we put that out there. That's all.
I do see Trey Hendrickson as being a possible option still, because when you have that injury kicker for Nick Bosa that's going to roll $9 million into next season, you're still going to get that flexibility, because I think the more weeks that go by, you get to a point by the trade deadline where Trey Hendrickson is costing you maybe under $9 million. So it's like, how do you want to look at it if you're the 49ers? I think if they get Trey Hendrickson, that's gonna take you up to the trade deadline. I don't think they're gonna try and rush that one. Because about $1 million or so drops every single week on his deal. And considering the 49ers salary cap, they would probably want to prioritize in saving that so that it rolls over into next season. And you also hope that the cost goes down with that. Maybe it's a 2 now. Maybe, by the end of the month, it turns into a 3. And a future 5, what have you. I do think he's still in the mix of possibilities, but I don't see Miles Murphy, because I think the 49ers like to go for these bigger names when they feel like they have a Super Bowl roster, a Super Bowl run to go on. And I think that's going to have to, if they do make a trade for an edge rusher, that's going to tell you what their sentiment is with this team. Because we've seen them go for the Emmanuel Sanders when they feel like they had the Super Bowl run. They went for Christian McCaffrey when they felt they had that run. They went for Chase Young when they felt they had that run. So it was all well-known players across the league. It wasn't the Miles Murphys of the world. So I think the sneaky option would be a Thibodeau with the Giants, because you have them under contract for next season.
That's a good
And
thing.
where this 49ers team seems to care about is maintaining those guys over time, and especially with the talent like Thibodeau, to where his contract is pretty low this season, to where you're not so much eating that Nick Bosa, $9 million kicker that gets sent in next year on this year's salaries. So I think that's maybe a more likely, because Hendrickson, you just got him for this season. That's it. So I could see Kyle and John wanting to at least have 2 cracks at it with this year and next year, and probably going after a Thibodeau more likely than a Trey Hendrickson. It's just Thibodeau probably had to take Joe Staley out for a steak dinner and everything like that for not knowing who he was, and that Twitter exchange a couple of years ago. I think when Staley called Thibodeau a flash in the pan or something similar to that.
Hmm.
So they may have to have a steak dinner and talk about it. Uh, but I think that's a more likelier option, and it's guilty. I think I'm rooting for that option more than a Trey Hendrickson, just because you have 2 seasons to play with it rather than the one.
Yeah. All right. Well, the Bengals aren't quitting. I mean, they didn't just trade for Joe Flacco to
Yeah,
send away
yeah,
Trey Hendrickson, so they're not quitting,
one hundred
right?
percent, one
You know,
hundred
and
percent.
and Zach Taylor's trying right now to save his job, so they have to see what they've got with Flacco. If you're rooting for Trey Hendrickson to be an option, then you have to be a Green Bay Packer fan this week, and you have to hope that they not only beat the Bengals but keep them so bad offensively that they've been, with Jake Browning that there's no chance at Joe Flacco. All right, the Thibodeau thing makes sense because he's cost controlled 2 years, but I do want to point something out. How much do you want to bet that if the 49ers were to make a move, because he is on his fifth-year option, that he will not play on his fifth-year option? And if you're inviting your next contract holdout to training camp next season, come on down, Kayvon Thibodeau. You're definitely going to be mature about it. You're definitely going to go out there and prove your worth on a fifth-year option. You're definitely not going to ask for a brand new deal, even though you're under contract. No way that happens, right, Leo?
I mean, that's a very likely possibility. And when we went to the NFL draft together and we were both credentialed, he was
What were
drafted
they
that
saying?
year,
What were they
and
saying? What were they saying?
immaturity was a big part of that conversation around him. And I remember when he was done with the media spotlight, in the green room and everything like that, backstage, uh, his agent said, "All right, you're done. No more questions." And he said, "That's it." And he ran out. Like the guy
Yeah.
was just like, he was, which I don't blame him in that moment. You want to enjoy being selected, but you know, as a Yankee fan, they talk about like Aaron Judge professionalism compared to Manny Machado professionalism, things like that. And it's like, okay, where does he lie in between that? Crossing sports here. Where does he lie in between that? And it's just, I don't like that you bring that up because now that makes me worrisome if they were to go get
I,
him.
I mean, look, how many guys go out there and play on their fifth-year option, right? And likely the way Thibodeau's looking at this is cashing in on it. He's having a very good season. I'm
Hmm.
just saying it would be such a 49er thing to make a move and say, hey, nothing could go wrong with this 2-year deal. And he pulls up to
You know,
training
they're
camp and
not
he's like,
extending him either.
no. So, right. And I want a new contract. And so I just want to, look, I am just exploring all the possibilities. That's all when it comes to that. And to further go on Leo's point, that combine that year was all about Thibodeau's immaturity and how he bombed his interviews and how people didn't want him in there. Now, perhaps that's changed, but in this cutthroat league, with a guy who has a chance to get paid, who is still very young, there's probably no way he's going to play on that fifth-year option. He'll absolutely hold out, and he's going to make it a complete mess. So, it brings me back to where I feel the 49ers are going to fall and what type of player it's going to be. It's going to be an Arden Key type, probably Arden Key. If you even want to ask for a Jeffrey Simmons makes a shit ton of money. And you have to remember what John Lynch said all offseason: younger and cheaper. Going after a Hendrickson, going after a Crosby, going after a Thibodeau, that doesn't make you younger and cheaper. Although Thibodeau's young, but he's going to cause a problem. It's going to be one or two low-level defensive line moves, possibly a defensive tackle, possibly a defensive end, somebody who can rotate on both sides. And that's what I like about Arden Key is he's going to cost you nothing. He can play inside and play outside, and he can help Michael Williams go back to that role that he had on the inside while they wait for Yetur Gross-Matos, who I don't want to understate the loss of him at all. On film,
No.
he's been winning every single rep, it seems like. He just can't stay on the field. So I do think the 49ers are thinking, hey, we're going to let the rooks develop here. We're going to see more of Alfred Collins. We want to see more of Michael. We're going to see what happens, but they're going to bring in ancillary pieces. I just don't see them swinging for the fences this year based on their plan going into next year for this team. That's all.
And honestly, I don't blame them because I don't think it's going to be one guy that's going to turn this pass rush around. Um, I wouldn't even be upset if they looked at a Justin Simmons from Tennessee. I think he's a fantastic player. And I think I saw something come across that he's like the number one PFF interior rusher right
Yeah,
now, graded
and he
rusher.
could rush
Um,
and he could
it's
rush
just
he
like
can
this
rush from over the
Tennessee,
center and in the 5 tech. He can do both of those things, but he is expensive though.
yeah, yeah, he is expensive. Does Tennessee truly want to shut off of him, this early in the season, XYZ? And my real concern is like, sure, you could go get that piece. Say you could go get a Justin Simmons. Let me just throw him in there. Um, I
Jeffrey
have
Simmons,
concerns
right?
with
Justin's a safety.
Jeffrey. Yeah,
Jeffrey.
he's the safety. Thank you. Thank you. Jay Simmons. I'll leave it at that and leave it a mystery.
Jay Simmons
Um,
is good. I like that. I
they
like that.
they need they need to go get both because my big concern is the coverage within safety. I saw Mustafa's name pop up here in the chat. I I am so excited to have Mustafa back um, because I do have very concerns with the coverage within safeties. We looked at a lot of these touchdowns that have been uh, going against the 49ers. A lot of it has been where the safety is the nearest defender in a lot of those cases. So I'm excited to get Mustafa back. Uh, the I don't think they brought in old boy from the New York Giants. Why am I blanking on his name?
Thibodeau?
Pinnock. I don't think
Pinnock.
they.
Oh,
I don't think they brought in Pinnock with the idea of like, okay, yeah, this guy's our starting safety this season. Siegel, like the week one story was nice. The fourth down stop last Thursday was nice. But I've been seeing the back of his jersey way too much with these touchdowns going on. Um, so like even if you do get a guy, you still need some back end and cover. And I don't think one guy is gonna change that.
yeah, and I think
And it's not the end of the
again,
world. It's not the end of
no,
the world. They're still playing good football. They're like people aren't putting up 30 burgers on them. Like I'm
yeah.
not trying to say the sky's falling or anything. I don't think a one guy is gonna change it. Is all I'm saying.
So I think with the Siegel thing, when you hear Robert Sala at the beginning of the season say, "Hey, listen, we're gonna live with the bumps and bruises," I truly believe that. I think that Pinnock is the one who's gonna come off the field this week if he's ready to go. So, yeah, I do think they're gonna live with that. You know what I will say in defense of Siegel is he's in position now. I feel like that's what we used to say about a Keller Weatherspoon. I feel like that's what we used to say about like just play the ball a little bit better. But I do have hope for Siegel to be fine. I do think he does need to go through these bumps and bruises, and I do think that someone running next to him that can offer that coverage and perhaps maybe Siegel drops down a little bit further and isn't somebody who has to cover up top. By the way, also I think it's a little unfair because they've been really lining him up and getting tight ends on him, and that's a tough ask for somebody that small. And they just been throwing the football up. Like Terrence Ferguson's a giant man, and he made a great catch. Siegel was there, but I think they're gonna let it go. I'm not nearly as concerned with Marcus Siegel. I really am not. Like I'm not jumping out the window with any of that. I want to see you improve your ball skills. I want to see you. What do you do when you know that they're going to attack you? Where's that mental toughness? What do you do when you know that you're the focal point of the offense in front of you? So I think all of those things are true, and I think they're gonna let him roll with it. And I think it's gonna be Siegel and Mustafa. I think that was the plan all year.
Yeah, I find it funny but he's in position. It's like being in a relationship, but he had the right intentions. He had the right intentions. Okay, like he didn't try to do you bad. He had the right intentions. Okay, you got to forgive him. The intentions were there.
Yeah,
So that's kind of like
it's
Siegel. He was in position. All right, he was in position. He wasn't. Uh, what? Oh, the Super Bowl when Bengals played against the Rams, and where Eli Apple just bit on the play fake and Cooper Cup ran in the corner of the end zone wide open to where they, that was essentially a game winning touchdown for them. At least Siegel's not doing that, right?
Right.
At least
And
he's
that's the
not
thing.
doing that.
He's not like chasing. Like he's not like just having guys over, like he's in the spot and he's putting his hand up with the ball, and it's just like not it's just not going his way right now. But yeah, like sometimes all it takes is one PBU. Sometimes all it takes is, a little bit of confidence, right? To see the ball go through the hoop. So I'm much more hopeful for him, man. I'm not ready to, hit the alarm button, man. Look, we got like maybe like, a few more minutes, like, because I gotta, the liquor store's about to close, and hey, it's getting a little spooky over here on the East Coast. But I we used to watch Talanoa Hufanga get ripped in coverage over and over and over.
Oh, he did a lot of
Um,
chasing. People don't want to talk about it,
yeah,
but he did a lot of chasing.
yeah, no, people, no, what it was people said you can't rip him for that because he got an interception. Cool, thank you.
I just saw him
Sometimes the
chasing right now
yeah,
with the Broncos when they played against Philly.
right,
Thankfully for Hufanga, it was an overthrow,
right.
and thankfully for Hufanga, AJ Brown stopped running. So
Right. So again, good with bad, fine, but let's not act like you're watching somebody who, like, you're watching a safety never do these things. Like, you've literally watched Hufanga do this throughout his entire career when he was on the field. Like, he was a target and he would be targeted like that. Now you take the good with the bad, but you just gotta hope that the kid is learning on the fly, and you gotta hope that Malik Mustafa might save a lot of that, because I do blame Jason Pinnock for a lot of those things as well too, because he at times is out of position, and he's fine. He's a veteran. That's good depth. Great. Mustafa and Siegel's got to be the way to go. Leo, I appreciate you, my boy. It's good to see you. Maybe we should make this a weekly thing if you can. If you can make it
yeah.
happen. I know you're a family man. I know that things are really busy and everything, but let everybody know where they can follow you on social and all that stuff.
So yeah, you can follow me on formerly known as Twitter at LeoLuna93. You can find me there, and you'll find the rest of my channels based off of that. So yeah, definitely love to do this weekly. Getting back into the groove. This feels fun. This feels normal. It feels normal. Like when you get after COVID happens and you're like, wow, this feels normal again. That's what this feels like. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. I appreciate you, Jason.
Nah, man, you got it. Feels like home as always. So great stream. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Remember, if you're here, like this video, drop a subscribe. If you're not, hit that notification. Make sure you try to join that members only. I'm trying to find a way to post these film breakdowns without the NFL demonetizing it, because I really wanted to give you one that highlights all the things that the 49ers have done against the Bucs that they can use. Maybe I'll try to get it up before the game starts, but it'll be a members only thing, so you have to be a member of the channel to see it. Unfortunately, when I put all that work in for these breakdowns, the NFL demonetizes it and then buries it in the algorithm. It sits there at 145 views, and I put in hours and hours of work for nothing. So, I mean, I understand the NFL's broke. They need every single dollar that they can get, man. Those poor guys. So, but
Yeah.
we're gonna get out of here, and we'll figure out the stream for this week. Shout out to Leo for joining. Shout out to everybody for joining. Love all the comments. Love to see Tony and Gojira and Charlene and everybody that's in here. The normal faces. But we're gonna get out of here, and as always, let's go Niners.